Welcome to part 3 of Mega Man 3 from the Wily Wars. Now we're going into the new section of Mega Man 3, which is basically redoing old parts of Mega Man 3. This is the Doc Robot section of the game. I have no idea why he's called that. I think it's just some sort of mistranslation thing. But essentially, long story short, you go back through levels and you fight different bosses to the ones you did when you went the first time around. So now we're back in Man Stage. They've changed the levels around a little bit, which I do appreciate because it means you're not just doing the same stuff again. But by the same token, I kind of wish we just had new levels, and that's what they started doing with the extra stuff in the other Mega Man games. In 4 there's Dr. Cossack's Castle, in 5 there's the Proto Man stages, and I prefer that because it kind of gives you something new to do rather than just doing the same stuff you've already done. This isn't a horrible setup, but it kind of feels like complete filler, and that's why I would just rather not be playing this sort of stuff, you know. But regardless, we're coming up to the first of the new, citation needed, bosses. So let's just go through this whole way, and this might have required a few takes as a kind of heads up because these are a little bit finicky and I'm not very good at remembering what these weaknesses are. So as you can see, this is Metal Man again basically. Doc Robot, he takes on the form of the Mega Man 2 Robot Masters, so just think of it like that basically. It's just the same thing again, but because you've only got the Mega Man 3 weapons now, you kind of gotta find their new weaknesses. And now Metal Man, as we just saw, he's weak to the magnet missile. I think he's also weak to the hard knuckle, so you can use either really, and I like that there are multiple weaknesses available for each one. Especially as there's 2 bosses per stage, it lets you use another if you happen to have wasted all the energy for one throughout the stage, so that's something I appreciate here. Coming up is Quickman. That's the other one in Man Stage, so we'll be taking on the Quickman Doc Robot next, but first we've got these annoying sort of falling block things that can land on you and crush you. Quickman's weaknesses in Mega Man 3 are Snake Man's weapon and Gemini Man's weapon, and as you can imagine, neither of those are particularly easy to use against Quickman because the Search Snakes, obviously you have to be fairly close to them and they track along the floor, and Quickman jumps around a lot. And the Gemini laser, it's always fun to use the slowest weapon in the game against one of the fastest Robot Masters. That's always a good fun time to have, right? You know? So now we wait until it eventually goes off screen, then I can try again. But to be fair, it probably is easier than trying to Mega Buster him, so there's that. And compared to Mega Man 2, where you use the Flash Stopper, but the Flash Stopper would only take him down halfway. So now your weakness, you can just finish him off with a weakness a lot more easily. I'm gonna just go to these Doc Robot stages in just the standard order they show up. You can go to them in any order you like, and it really doesn't make any difference at this point because you've got all the different weapons that you can get, so now it's just whatever order you feel like really. But yeah, you might remember last time we were in Needlemen Stage, I talked about how it was day. Now it's night here, and I like that background, and it's a shame we only get to see it for a little while at the start there. I think we go outside again a bit later, but you know. More of these annoying sort of stabby stick things. I don't think that's what they're actually called. I don't think anyone at Capcom just thought, what can we name these things? I know, stabby sticks. Yeah, no, that's just me being stupid, so ignore that. Yeah, I don't think I commented much on the visuals inside Needlemen Stage last time, but this is kind of okay. There's no real memorable visuals to it, if you think about it. It's just a green and orange base, which I guess is a step above a grey base, but it's still nothing too special. Better get that rush coil out. And again, they're being quite generous with the E-tanks, not as generous as they will be in the Wily stages. Because in the Wily stages they just give you loads of different health and that, as and when. But coming up now is... who's it gonna be, guys? It's Airman! And again, I can beat Airman, so no need for a worry there. I'm just using the Mega Buster to start with, but his weakness is actually the Spark Shot, and I believe he is also weak to the Magnet Missile. So just use whatever, but the Spark Shot's easier because it's just like a general projectile, so you just sort of shoot it as I am using the Buster here. Sort of point at him and shoot, and job's a good one, really. Gonna finish him off with a Spark Shot just because. It's kind of underwhelming how the music doesn't really stop in time. Just sort of keeps on playing until you walk through the door. Like, there's no sort of satisfaction for having beaten the boss because of that. But now I'm gonna try and refill my health a bit, so I'll cut past this in just a second. This is quite a useful place to grind in case you took a bit too much damage in the earlier parts of the stage, so just do that, and you can also fill up your Rush Jet energy if for whatever reason you used it earlier in the stage. Actually, to get that E-tank you needed it, so it's useful there. But yeah, this section can be a little bit fiddly because there's all these things sort of falling down from off screen. So what I find is easier is what I'm doing here, where you stay in kind of the lower portion of the screen, so that things are less likely to hit you, or at least if they do hit you, you would have had a good chance to dodge them by then. I like how all them sort of paratrooper type enemies are just sort of fall into their doom like that. That's their one goal or purpose in life, just to fall and hopefully hit Mega Man on the way down. They don't really have much to live for, in all honesty. And yeah, that is getting pretty dark now. But look, it's this giant robotic metal thing, which would be used again in... I can't remember either one of the Cossack stages or one of the Wily stages in Mega Man 4. They'd reused the idea of having a giant metal. Because that stage that has the metal boss, there's a hell of a lot of metals on the way down there. So it kind of tips you off that the giant metal might be coming back. Just aim for the plus sign on its head with the Shadow Blade and it'll go down. The Shadow Blade is really useful for this sort of thing because it's got, obviously, you can shoot in different directions. And that's what I mean, it's basically the metal blade but not quite as powerful with a boomerang. And it's probably my favourite weapon to use in this game. Coming up now is Crash Man. This guy is weak to either the top spin, which I'm going to use, or the hard knuckle. I think the hard knuckle does more to him, but it's harder to hit him because he jumps as soon as you shoot. So like if you time it right when you're far enough away from him, the hard knuckle can do some decent damage to him, but otherwise just sort of jump into him with the top spin. He'll go down. But of course I've got to be a little bit cautious on the health side because the top spin gets me hit 9 times out of 10. Come to mention it, I'm not quite sure what the story is behind Doc Robot, because he's sort of, I assume, a Wily creation, but the whole taking the capabilities of the Mega Man 2 robots. I'm not sure whether he's got like different adaptable options that he can pick from the weapons of any of the Mega Man 2 robots, or if they're like different forms of him. Not too sure on that one. But now we're back in everyone's favourite stage, Gemini Man Stage. Good God, I hate this level. It's worse the second time around too. But as you can see here, the fire that the enemies are dropping are orange this time. They were blue last time we were here. I'm not sure why that changed, but apparently it did. But again, Shadow Blade's really useful for just taking out the things that are coming to you in the air. Get that little bit of reach and it normally finishes them off in one hit too. Or you could just let him shoot you, like I do. As I was saying last time we were here, I think this level in general looks better in the NES version. Because it doesn't have the same dark tone to it that it does in the original one. And the dark tone's probably the one thing that justifies this level, or at least makes it at least somewhat respectable to me, because otherwise it's just a boring level. Look, we're gonna fight loads more tadpole enemies. We're all excited about that. And why I'm doing that rather than just shooting on the top, I do not know, because I'm making this take longer than it needs to be. But that's kind of my gig at this point, really, isn't it? And as you would have guessed, another room of tadpoles. Wonderful. But yeah, the two robot masters we're going to be fighting from Mega Man 2 in this stage are Bubble Man and Flash Man. I think Flash Man comes first, but I kind of recorded this the other day and my memory is that of a goldfish, so we'll see. I'm not good at this whole Let's Play thing, if you can't tell. I kind of sort of tried to call things from memory, can't remember anything, sort of end up waffling about stuff. And, you know, you'd thought after like 3 years now I would have got the hang of it, but apparently not. But yeah, I was right, it's Flash Man first. And he is weak to... he's weak to Needleman, obviously, I'm using it out. And... no, I'm not looking at a guide, what makes you think that? He's also weak to the Gemini laser. But of course the needle weapon is faster, so I'll just use that and sort of spam him with them. Now onto the second half of Gemini Man Stage. And things are falling from the ceiling again. At least this, like, you can see the slight little dip in the ceiling, like, so you know where something's going to fall from. Or at least you do once you realise that there are things falling to start with. But now I'm gonna drive in the dark underwater! I quite like Rush Marine as a design, but it kind of feels pretty pointless given you could easily just use the Rush Jet underwater. It feels like a kind of unnecessary extra thing to have, but I don't know. But yeah, that was more health grinding for me, because I wanted this run to be no death, so whereas normally when I play Mega Man I have the strategy of bum rush everything, then die to get me health back. I just didn't want to use that for this particular run, so I'm instead just stopping to grind, just so you don't have to deal with me dying to a boss and redoing it. Because that's never fun to watch, really. Now we have Bubble Man, who is equally weak to the Shadow Blade and the Spark Shock, or whatever it's called, Spark Man's weapon. So I'm just using the Shadow Blade to replicate my strategy with him from Mega Man 2 of spamming him with blades, which tends to work because he's a pussy basically. There's no reason to ever die to Bubble Man, and I think that's a fair comment to make, really. Yeah, I think I burst his bubble. Yeah. I think someone needs to stop me one of these days. Going back to Shadow Man Stage. So I think first up will be Woodman. So we'll fight him when we can. And I don't know if you noticed here, but they've suddenly put loads of spikes here that weren't here before. It's always great to kind of have to worry about now. And especially in this version, the spikes don't really look like spikes, I don't think. At least not in this level. I guess this game isn't quite as spike heavy as Mega Man 4 is, because Mega Man 4 has a lot of spike sections. I think every level in Mega Man 4 has spike pits or spike walls somewhere. So, you know, just gotta be careful there. Mega Man 4 overall, I kind of enjoy that game, and it's one of the games that I want us to redo a playthrough of at some point, either me by myself or with the others, because I like that game, but I don't really think we did it justice last time. I don't think the commentary was that interesting overall, so I would like to give it another go. Obviously that won't be till we've finished the main Mega Man series and we'll come back to it, because I don't really want to repeat things so soon after I did them last time. I say as I'm repeating a game we did in 2013, but you know, I'm kind of a hypocrite in that regard. Yeah, we don't have to stop from Proto Man this time, which is appreciated. And I wonder what boss is coming up here. Oh look, yep. So Woodman is weak to both the Search Snake and the Needle Cannon. So use whatever, but I use the needles here because you can hit him from that little bit further and it doesn't really matter if he jumps. I haven't tried it, but I would imagine that Leaf Shield deflects the Search Snakes as so it will just end up killing off most of my attacks rather than actually getting hit by him. But yeah, same deal as before, the slowdown makes this boss a lot harder than it needs to be. Good old Mega Drive slowdown, I guess. I'm not sure why the tree is weak to needles. And there's more of these buggers, of course. Just slide into him, that works. Great job there, past me, great job. Getting my Rush Jet weapon kind of refilled because I'm going to need that in a minute. But first, this guy. And again, these sections, you want to make sure you don't just sort of jump into the paratrooper things because they will knock you down, you will die. And no one likes dying, at least I don't think so. I like how they've got spikes on the ceiling as well, just to make sure you don't fly too high on the Rush Jet. Because that wouldn't be good for you. The spike through the helmet never did anyone any favours. Unless there's some sort of spike through the helmet therapy type thing like the acupuncture or whatever. I don't know. I'm thinking way too far into this shit. But yeah, now it's time to take on Heat Man, who is weak to the top spin and the Shadow Blade. I'm going to be using the top spin because the top spin does that little bit more damage to him, so it will get him down quite a bit quicker. Of course that does mean getting close to him. Yeah, that was an underwhelming kind of finishing strike. Rest in peace, Heatman. You were always my favourite Zippo lighter. But that was it for part 3. I'll see you all next part for the finale of Mega Man The Wily Wars.